Right now with Norm, who's here as always. And
Good morning.
we have had another interesting day yesterday. Let's start with a quick recap of yesterday, since it was a significant one. Um, Yesterday, as we've been saying all along, and we tell you in the room, when you have huge declines, which obviously we've had in the market over the last little while, it can often be, in the middle of that, you can get big increases. So yesterday, we had just one of those days. The Dow Jones Industrial Average went up, I think it was about 11%, which they say is the largest one-day increase since 1933. And the
Largest
S&P,
point gain,
yeah,
to be
largest,
clear.
yeah, point gain. Fair enough. You're right. Probably not the percentage increase, right? But largest point gain. But
Yep.
anyways, and the S&P 500 had its best day since what did they say? 2008, I think it was. So all in all, right, a big day yesterday and a day when we saw some increases. Some great stocks that were trading out there. Some of which we'll see again this morning. I actually was looking at AMD. And let me just show you guys here some stocks. We'll just get my chart set. Um, AMD, sorry, yesterday had actually some good moves, both up and down. So there was some good opportunity to trade AMD throughout the course of the day yesterday. I took advantage of that with a nice short back through VWAP. Although I missed the gain at the open, I think Andrew played that very successfully and had some good trades on that. Um, Zoom, Norm, did you end up trading Zoom yesterday? You did, didn't you?
I did. I made money. I lost money. I ended up a little bit red yesterday, but no big deal.
All right, so yeah, it had a big decline off the open. We can see it pulled back through VWAP. I think you took it somewhere near the bottom here and managed to hold on, hoping it would get higher, but it sort of died, right? It was sort of odd. It died right above VWAP.
Yeah. It died around VWAP. I mean, that was my big trade for the day yesterday. It got me back close to green, but nevertheless, it was just kind of, Zoom, if it's in play. It was a great short out of the gate. Just a clean drop for like close to 20 points, with hardly any big pullbacks in there. But then it was just kind of a steady, slow rise, and then it just kind of chopped around the rest of the day. So
Oh,
anyway.
just realized I didn't have my webcam. Hello for everybody on YouTube. Yeah, so BA we'll talk about. So I'll skip over that for a second because I notice it's back on the list today. MGM as well. And then we had both the cruise lines and the airlines that all did well. So in the cruise lines, CCL, RCL, and Norwegian Cruise Lines, what is that? I always forget what the symbol is. NCHL, something like that. NHCL. It's one of
NCLH.
NCLH. See, it's something like that. And then, of course, we had Delta, American, and United, which all sort of showed some good movement yesterday. They're actually good trading stocks and had some good action. So, to me, those were the big things. The one that was a disappointment, Novavax, had good news yesterday, but as I said, don't come in with preconceived notions because look, I mean, basically it dropped all day. It dropped off the open and then just stayed flat. Frankly, I think it was a terrible trade. Unless you managed to catch this short, obviously look at this for most of the day, not much going on. So you never know, right? Just because it's huge pre-market doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have a great day. So with that, Norm, maybe you could give us sort of a summary of what's happening this morning because I see the SPY is down marginally, despite it was up early this morning and then it just plummeted and now we're hanging out just below break even.
Yeah, well, so Dow futures, I think, are green. The last I looked, they were green. I don't have it up right now. SPY is ever so slightly red. It's nice to have a less than a 0.5% gap, whether it's down, up or down these days. And today it's down a little bit. We did have, like I mentioned, we had durable goods and core durable goods come out this morning. Durable goods came in better than expected. Core durables came in a little bit worse than expected. So we'll see how that pans out. Didn't do a whole lot to the market, as I've mentioned all week. The really big number to keep an eye on for this week is tomorrow morning, right at 8:30 when we start this show. It's going to be weekly jobless claims. They've been hovering in the 200-ish thousand range per week. last week was 281,000, so it ticked up just a little bit. This week's number is going to have the full impact of the virus, the first that we'll really have that has a major impact from it. Compared to the 200,000, we are expecting new weekly jobless claims in the area of 2.5 million. So it should be very interesting. We've had some Fed speakers around on CNBC and stuff this morning. Bullard was on there from St. Louis Fed. So we've picked up a little bit. We've come off the lows that we made this morning. As you said, the SPY was up. Now we're pulling back. We're coming close to break even. The Senate has late last night announced that they have an agreement on the stimulus is not really a great word for it, but stimulus package that they are passing. So we shall see. We shall see what happens here.
Yeah, it should be, the fun will continue because, as I say, we shall see. It's tough to know until we start getting into it. So let's do that. As well, I shouldn't say as always, but as we've been seeing the last few weeks, guys, this gappers list is just big every single morning. So this market is causing a ton of stuff to gap with it. Not all of it has, unique news, though. So we'll try and ferret out the stuff that has news. Let's start with CTSO off the top. This one, I was doing some research before we came on here to try and find out. They had, I know that they've got this drug called Cytozorb, but I didn't actually see any specific news, nor maybe you had a better luck finding stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So this, like you said, Cytozorb is the drug that they have. It's being used to treat acute respiratory distress syndrome in patients, specifically in Italy and Panama. And it's shown to have some promise. So that's what they're popping on this morning.
Okay. Yeah, and I know that's not a cure for coronavirus, but they're saying it certainly helps in the recovery process. So
it is a therapy for recovery, correct?
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, that's giving it a pop. The pre-market action is not bad. I looked it up. This is not a low float stock. But it's only a 31 million float, so it's not huge. And keep in mind, this is a stock that is below $10, so it's going to trade, I would expect, like a low float. We'll set some levels on it. Probably not one of my favorites for trading, but there might be opportunity. Geez, one that wasn't here earlier that's popped up now is Save. Not bad pre-market.
Yep.
I didn't look this up at all, so what's going on?
I didn't see any specific news. You've got all these airlines coming up. So I think a big part of this, and there might be one or two in here that have something else going on, whether it's a random upgrade or some other kind of, they made a statement. But when you get to the cruise lines, hotels, casinos, airlines, Boeing, a lot of these, they're expected. Just a reminder, I'm in here with my son. It's Wednesday, so my wife has her whole country vice president meeting going on from the start of this show for about an hour. So he gets to sit with me while I work. It's bring your kid to work day, and he's sitting back there. I guess he choked on some yogurt. So I apologize for any any noise in the background. Anyway, so the stimulus bill, some people have been concerned as far as shareholders go, that is, that any kind of relief that is given to any of these companies might come with some kind of an equity dilution. And the rumors are that will not be the case. So I think that's a big reason why most of these are popping up in the most hard hit industries. Additionally, a lot of times when you get these big pullbacks going on, you're going to have people that were, let's say in a Zoom, for instance, feel like it's run its course maybe. I'm not saying it has. I'm just giving an example. Run its course and start going to pick up some of the better names and the really hard hit stuff to try to get a bounce there. So I think it's a combination of those things.
Yeah, so as you point out, I mean, with that deal being reached was something like 1 a.m. this morning. All the airlines are up, and we're seeing some of the cruise lines. So maybe what we'll do is to save time. I mean, there's some good ones in here. I don't know that Save would be on my list. I'd probably stick with the usuals, which would be more of the Delta Airlines, the American, United. They tend to trade a little bit better. I like the way they trade, I should say, better. I noticed that NCLH, which is the Norwegian Cruise Lines, is at the top of the list for the cruise lines, but I do see Royal Caribbean and Carnival on this list as well. So maybe I'll put NCLH. Norm's already mentioned them, so we don't really need to go over the details on those again. MGM, I'm surprised MGM has been on our list for a couple of days. It's back again, but I mean, I don't. What's specific about MGM is pushing it up so high? Like I wasn't.
I wish I had.
Yeah,
I
okay.
wish I had an answer for you. I mean, it is one of the better, I believe, casino properties. I know they've got significant exposure in Macau, for instance, with China back up and running. That helps. And then then you've been beaten down from $30 to $35 range that it's traded in the last several months, and been cut in a third, or cut to a third of that. So I think that's what you're seeing predominantly, really.
Well, my cousin works there. Must be him. He's doing something good. So yeah, well, MGM again, it actually traded fairly well yesterday. So I'm going to leave it on the list. We had some levels set. A couple of them came into play, or at least one of them did. So I'll leave it on the list here. All right, skipping down through the airlines. Boeing. I said we would come back to it because it was in play yesterday. Keep in mind, 2 days ago, Boeing was down below $100. Now it's up around 150. So pre-market, it's jumped here another $20 from where it was at the close yesterday. I mean, it's looking good. They announced surprisingly that they were going to be reopening in Norm, was it May? I think their production facilities for the 737 Max. I saw that, and obviously there's the aid. I assume that's what's spurring this little pop.
Yeah, that is it.
Yeah, I'm sort of surprised they're restarting production on
It
the
goes, and it
Max.
also, yeah, it also goes back to the fact that like I said about not taking equity positions in these, is the news on the bill that's going to be approved. So that helps as well.
Right. All right, so going down through our list, guys, we're looking again more airlines here. JetBlue is even up there with United. Halliburton, we just don't look at. It's really just not a good trader. Ford is on the list again, not one that normally trades very well, but it is up 9%. I didn't look this up, so I don't know if there's any specific news with Ford. It's
I haven't seen anything that interesting, to be frank. They got hit pretty hard. Um, they've been hit pretty hard. And then the news has come out that they're going to help make respirators, or ventilators. So I don't think that's what's given that the pop that it's getting this morning, but we'll see.
I'm really struggling to figure out. All these auto manufacturers seem to be jumping on board to build respirators, which is fantastic. You're right. Actually, I did read something that 3M, they're partnering with 3M, I guess probably to figure out how to do it and to retool. I hope those are going to be quality. Like, it seems to me it's not easy to retool an auto manufacturing facility to build a respirator. I don't quite get that, but respirator and face shields is what I saw Ford is going to be building. So while the daily doesn't look good on it, the pre-market doesn't look bad, and this actually may be an opportunity to trade today, so I'm going to leave it on the list. All right, just going down my list, guys. We've got more airlines. AU, we don't look at Penn. Penn, I remember being on my list a little while ago. Actually, was it just yesterday? It was, it got a downgrade or something yesterday, but was still trading up. Again, it's another casino property, isn't it? So I'm not sure. I don't like the
Yeah,
pre-market on it
international
though.
gaming.
Yeah, I don't really like the pre-market on this. I'm not
Yeah.
going to pay a lot of attention to it. M. Well, that's odd to see a retailer on here. So we are starting into earnings season. Last night we did have earnings on one that I don't see on the list. Nike had earnings last night. They did beat their numbers. Oh, it is up here. Somehow I missed it.
It's there.
Yeah, I skipped
Yeah.
over it. Maybe we'll come back to that. But let's talk about M for a second. Did I miss? Did they have earnings, or why are they on my list?
No, no earnings.
Okay.
I think they're just bouncing here. I haven't. That last news I see is from a few days ago. They announced cutting their dividend, but that wouldn't be giving it a pop this morning. So,
No.
once again, I think this is just something that's really beaten down, and people are maybe trying to see if they can get a little bounce out of it.
Yeah, maybe it's maybe just moving with the markets. Although I mean, it's up. The pre-market does not look good. I haven't had a lot of luck trading Macy's in the past, so not one that I'm going to be spending any time looking at. Nike, I did just mention it. They did have earnings last night after the close. And I know that they beat their numbers both top and bottom line. However, they were, as you would expect every company, saying they're expecting some impact from coronavirus. Nike, it
Yep.
trades very strange. Like every time I've tried to trade it, it's been choppy and it sort of jumps around unexpectedly. So it is not a favorite of mine.
Typical for Nike stuff, really.
Yeah, some Nike stuff is okay, but Nike is not one of them. So I'll leave it on here so we can set up some levels in case any of you are interested. But it should come with fair warning that again the pre-market doesn't look great, and I've never liked the way that it's traded. All right, moving down my list, play. Uh, play. Play is on the list. Pre-market does not look great. It is up 8%. Again, not one that I had any opportunity to look up, so I don't know if there's news on it.
Which one was that,
Play,
Peter?
Play.
Uh,
Dave and Buster's Entertainment. I
I
always
have
remember
not looked.
them.
I haven't. I have not looked at play,
Okay.
but I think it's just the same story here. I mean, this is one of those things where it's something where somebody goes in. It's a restaurant with a ton of people in there playing games. Do you really want to go touch the skee ball that 50 other people have touched in the last hour? Don't think so. So, maybe they're getting a little bit of bounce on here after they've had a hell of a downtrend.
It could be. I said, guys, I don't like the pre-market. It is also oddly, it always surprises me whenever I look it up. It is a low float. Like there's only 17 million shares in the float, so not something I'll keep an eye on. I'm just going to jump to the bottom of the list here because we always run out of time just to see what's down. So we've got INO and CODX that are down. Gold, which again, a mining company, so I won't look at that. Um, I don't. I can't imagine there's much interesting going on with INO or CODX. Although INO, let me just take a peek at it here on the chart to see what it's doing pre-market. Yeah, I don't really like this pre-market action. I know we were talking about it in the room yesterday. A couple of people brought it up, but I mean, guys, look at the daily chart, right? I mean, it's sort of been dead flat. It had this big spike, but now it's out of the news. So it's really just not. It's not worth spending time looking at. The bottom of my list, just checking here, we've got a few things you would normally expect. GE, Coke is on the list. I see KO here. Yeah, I don't see anything else. Anything, Norm, that you'd want to bring our attention to that I should put on our list to set levels?
Facebook was on the gappers list earlier this morning on the downside. It was one of the few. It was only gold and Facebook at the time when I originally looked at it. They got an upgrade or a reiteration of a buy rating. Um, they got a reduced price target, but nevertheless, it's $230. So still significant upside. That came out yesterday. They mentioned they might have some. Well, they not might. They're going to be hit by a decline in demand for ad sales as well. So it's an interesting one. Just not quite in the threshold to meet our gappers yet, but that could be interesting.
Yeah, it's a good point. I did look that up
Um,
earlier because it was on the list. It's just dropped below the 2% mark, which is why it would have fallen off. But yeah, they did say their users, right, the usership, if you will, volume is up, but their ad revenues are likely to be down, which is what, frankly, Wall Street cares about. So,
yeah.
yeah, we'll see what happens. Facebook might be worth watching today. It's had some good days, actually. It's moved fairly well at times. So maybe I'll put on here so at least we can set some levels. What about in the room and on YouTube? If you guys have anything that you want us to take a look at, throw it up there. And in the meantime, I'll just do a quick run through the NASDAQ active. I see Take Two Entertainment, TTOO. That wasn't on my list a few minutes ago, but it's jumped up here. Huge 100. What the heck? No, this is not. Is this? No, this is not what I thought it was. Sorry. This is TTOO. That's something completely different. T2 Biosystems. It's an 80-cent stock. Never mind.
I've gone through these. There's nothing interesting here.
Okay.
There's nothing on here. Mist. Some people are calling out Mist, which is on Nasdaq gainers, but it's a penny stock at $2.40. If you want to look at that one, you can. Other than that, I really haven't seen anything.
Yeah, Mist I'd looked up earlier because yeah, they had a failed late stage trial, which took their price, you can see, down from $12 to $2.40. So keep in mind, guys, that news was actually yesterday's news, which caused the big drop. Today, it's up 40%, but we're really just seeing a little bit of a rebound from what was like an 80% drop yesterday. So I don't know that the price action will be that interesting. And it's not, I couldn't remember, it is a low float as well, so not something I'm going to be taking any time on. So. All right. Any other things that people have? I see MGM being called out in the room, which we talked about already. It's on the list. Some airlines here, UAL and Delta, DAL, which you're right. Those are all possibilities for today. Yeah, I don't see anything else. So with that then, why don't we take a look at our community announcements, and I'll hand it over to Norm. Let me just throw those up on the screen. There you go. Over to you, Norm.
I don't see the announcements, Peter.
Oh, I always forget. I put them on the screen so they show up on YouTube, but they don't necessarily show up in the room. One sec.
Can you?
There you go.
Can you not just put them over the charts that you have there?
There you go.
There you go. All right. All right, guys. So upcoming success webinars. Last night we had our Psychology Tuesday webinar. I'll talk about that in a minute. It was great. Next week's Ed Martin, Average Joe Trader, 8 p.m. on Wednesday, talking about trading after our earnings. It is fitting considering earnings season will be here just around the corner. Ed is great at trading after our earnings. I look forward to hearing from him on that. A week from then, on the 1st, April 1st, 6 p.m., Stephen Goldstein talking about trading and volatility. He was going to talk about his golden trading guidelines. He is a trading psychologist, and he was a professional trader for a very long period of time. So he's got some great insight. I'm really looking forward to that. That's at 6 p.m. since he is in London. On the 15th, and then not to skip over the 8th, which is going to be Peter, and we'll put that up there, but we're just putting special guests up for the moment. Brian Shannon is going to be on 8 p.m. going to be talking about the anchored VWAP and using it to trade on short-term trades as we do. Last night's success webinar was successful. We had Dr. Katz and Dr. Steenbarger. Always nice to have Dr. Steenbarger hop in and spare his time for us. He's great. He was even in the chat answering questions with people and stuff. While other things were going on. So that should be up. The recording of that should be up later today. If you're looking to become a member or upgrade your membership to a lifetime membership, we still have the March promo going on. That's 40% off the single payment lifetime membership. You can use the promo code St. Patrick's as you see it on the screen. We're getting toward the end of March, so that'll go away soon. But you can use the promo code St. Patrick's to get 40% off the lifetime one-time payment membership. Today we're trying something new. We're going to have a closing bell show from 3:30 to 4:15 on YouTube Live. It's going to be Peter and Brian simulcasting the room over to YouTube. So take a look at that. That's Eastern time, the last half hour of the markets, and up to 15 minutes afterward. So take a peek there, give some support. And if you're watching us on YouTube, haven't tried out the chat, you can do so at a discount. Use the promo code premarket24 with the 1-week intro membership when you do it, and it'll give you the discount. It'll apply the discount. Doesn't auto renew or turn into any other kind of membership.
Excellent. All right. Thanks so much, Norm. let me just, we'll pull this back down here. Okay. Let's get back to setting some levels now. So, how are we doing for time? Not bad. We're doing okay today. All right. CTSO. Where are we sitting now? $6.60. My goodness, look at this thing, man. It really spiked up to almost $10 this morning. So I look back on the daily. Oh, yeah. You keep thinking, I always think sometimes these things, is this an all-time high? And then you look back and you're like, nope, it's just had a really rough ride. So where would I set some levels? Well, certainly here where I can see a little bit of a spike here to about $8.61. I'm going to put this at $8.60 even. Put a level right there. I like tops and bottoms of patterns. I'm going to put a level, going to try and cut across here, right around $9. You can see, what was support when it had come down here in November of last year became resistance in December when it hit that level. So, and put it in a reverse ABCD. So that may be a level to watch, certainly around $9. We saw that it spiked higher today, so watch the whole dollars on this one if you're thinking of trading CTSO. As it seemed to have stopped right at $9.50. I expect $10 to be significant. And one last level I'll put again, support and resistance. You can see right here around $11, right, where it was support that became resistance later on. So those are some levels for CTSO. So we mentioned, guys, pretty much all of the airlines are in play. As well as the cruise lines. I'm just going to do one of each. We don't really have time to go through all of them, but the process for setting levels should be the same. You can see we had some levels set, so I'll use Delta for the airlines here. We had set some levels yesterday. I still like, on the downside here, I've got a level set at about $30. Where is this? $30.80 at the bottom of this, $30.60, sorry, at the bottom of this previous day. As we're moving up now, the price is sitting at about $31.60. We should expect to see some moves to the upside. So I have $38.75 at the high of this candle. I like that. I will put one at the bottom of this pattern here, which is about $41.45. To give me some warning on that. I will set that at $41.45. And let me just look back here. Yeah, if I go back in time, guys, nothing for a while. This is not a really strong level. There's only one day hitting it, but just so I have something in between, I'm just going to put something at the top of this candle. I see it's 37.19, so I'm going to put a marker there just so I know if I'm approaching that to keep an eye on it. It may or may not prove significant if we even get that high. I mean, that's another $6 move, which would be another 20%, which may be unlikely for Delta to get there, but we'll see what happens. NCLH, so as we know, the cruise lines have all been beaten down. There's a little bit of sort of sympathy recovery here. I have levels set already at $14.76, you can see, and one up here at $24. Current price is sitting exactly at $17. So I'm going to set a level right at the top of this candle, which looks like it's 1945. So let me make sure that that is set accurately. 1945. And I think that gives me probably all I'm going to need for today. Frankly, if it gets up over $24, we'll be in the running, because frankly, that would put it up, another like 30%. I don't think that's going to happen, but we're good to go. MGM, also some levels set previously, one at $11, here at $17.77. Current price is sitting at about $14.50. You can see $14.50 happens to be, actually it's a little bit above this candle, but I already have a level set. I like this one right at $14 because it happened to be the low of this candle on the 13th of March, and it's the high of this candle on the 16th. So a Friday and a Monday both sort of shared that same level, so that may come into play. It's also the whole dollar, so we'll watch that on MGM if we get there. Otherwise, I don't see anything of significance. Let me just go back in time and see if MGM played in this space. Yeah, it hasn't been down here for years. So I don't think anything else will be significant. It's interesting though, as I go back in time, look at this 1777 that I set way back here in 2014, 2015, 2016. It sort of played off of that level as a general area. Let me just zoom in for you guys so you can see it a little bit better. See how it played off this level many times. So that may have some significance if it gets that high and comes up to it. So I will keep an eye on that if that comes into play. Boeing. Well, Boeing, we're going to have a lot of levels here. Boeing's got so much room to run up. I mean, this is, for it having been down around 100, it really surprised me that it dropped that low. I know I'd looked back here before. It hadn't been that low since, $100. I think it hadn't been that low since, I don't know, it was sometime back before 2010, if I recall. But you can see that the price had been around the price level that we're at now back in 2014. And very interestingly, look at where the current price is sitting at $150. I can see that it had sort of hit off this level back in 2015. So I may use that and just put a level here, sort of cutting across the top of this where it had some resistance in 2015 when it was going up around 155. Let's come back to current times and see if that matches with anything that I've got here. Well, 155, as it turns out, happens to be the low of this candle, low of this candle here on the 12th of March. So I like that. I like the fact that there's some consistency to that number. So we'll see what happens. In fact, if I look at this candle, it's actually 154.80, which is about $1 lower than what I was looking for that general level back a little while ago. So let me I'm going to reconfigure this to be 154.80. And that way I've got a good level set. I already had this one up at level at 187.78. I can't imagine that we'll be going higher than that today, but if we do, I'll come back and revisit it midday. Ford was on our list. I do like the pre-market. It's actually looking surprisingly good. Now, Ford, generally in my experience, it's not a big mover. So this is one, you're playing for a few cents, even if you look at the pre-market. Despite it being up 14% or 15% almost, it's only a 70-cent move. And if you really look at the pre-market activity, look at this. I mean, it's gone up, 30, 40 cents over the last hour or so, and it's moving penny by penny. The good news is usually the spread is very low, so it's very playable. So I'm going to set a level at the top of this day here, right at 588. I'm also going to set one at the low of this candle here, which is 640. Being that pennies count here, I'm going to make sure it is right to the penny on that. And let me check on this one to make sure. The high is actually 590. So I'm going to make sure that this is at 590. That's excellent. And, frankly, guys, I don't think I'll get much more than that in play here, but we'll see what happens. Off the daily chart, I don't see any of my daily moving averages that might come into play significantly. They're a little bit out of the play. I'm just going to set this so that it displays on the axis. Those are way out of play, but if they do come in, I'll keep an eye on them. Nike, as I mentioned, I will not be trading Nike. I just don't like the way it trades. There are some levels here, though, if you're looking at it, that you could play with. Certainly the low of this candle here, the day of the 9th of March at 80.92 may be significant. 80.92. Other than that, I don't see anything great that I love. We already had the high of, what is this? Oh, this is the low of pre-market here that's sitting here. Interesting at this candle here. High 78.49. I'm going to put something here right at 78.50 just in case the price drops. But I said, I'm not really going to be watching this, but there's a couple of levels for you if you're thinking of trading it. Facebook might be in play. Pre-market's looking okay, but not fantastic. I do like the way it's been moving up the last few days. Again, with the profit warning, it may actually take this down. It is down a little bit, but not much more than the market overall. So let me set a couple of levels on this. The highs and lows of the previous couple of days are already set, so you can see those marked already. I will just mark something in case we get a spike up here at the top of this candle, which is 170.79. So I will put that right there. And then anything else to the downside? I'm seeing this right around here where things were cutting across around 148 and a quarter, 148.25. The low is 148. The close here was 148.10. I'm going to leave this level at 148.26. If it gets down there, we'll see if it's any significance. I don't know if it'll go that low. I mean, that would be fairly big drop for Facebook, but we'll see what happens. I would expect the candles to be roughly the size of what you're seeing here, right? Which would mean that, with the ATR, I don't know what the ATR is on Facebook these days, but I mean, based on these candles, I'm looking here, high and low, it's about $10 or $11. Yeah, so I wouldn't expect it to move more than $10, $11, which means it might hit this level, but probably not much farther. All right, guys, that's all I had for levels. Somebody's asking about Apple. Let's take a look at Apple and see what it's doing. So I have a minute or two here. We're only at 9:07. Apple, you know what? Apple has been frustrating for me because I find it choppy to try and trade. I tried to trade it towards the close yesterday, but it did. It actually, look at this. If I go back to the close yesterday, it had a nice sort of, jump up here towards the close. So it really showed some strength into the close yesterday. I see it's up marginally today. Might be worth it if you're interested in Apple. Just give it a little bit of room to set up. Make sure you manage your risk because I said Apple is one that you have to be cautious on. But it's just generally been fairly strong. I mean, we have to keep in mind Apple was up around 320, right? Just a month ago or so. So set a level here at 256.90, and I'm going to set one at the top of this candle at 279.50, just so I've got a couple of levels on Apple. Any last thing you guys are talking about? AMD. Actually, AMD is a good one. As I mentioned, I did trade AMD yesterday. I liked its movement. MU was another one. So I was watching AMD, MU, and NVIDIA, and I traded AMD and NVIDIA. Both had some good moves yesterday. I don't know specifically, no reason for the semiconductors to specifically be in play, but they do, just tend to move well, and they have good volume. So you can see I've got some levels already set here at $46 and essentially $50. I'm just going to leave those levels. What is the price? $46.80 right now. I don't see anything else significant in between there that I'll set with the highs and lows of the previous couple of days. I probably have all the levels I need. Okay. Norm, anything that you've got a fancy to for this morning that you're going to be taking a look at?
No, nothing that I haven't already nothing that I haven't already mentioned.
Yeah. Okay. Take a look at those. One that has been in play for a while. Actually, let me just take a look at a couple of our favorites here since we have a few minutes. Tesla. See, it's moving up pre-market. Tesla's another one of those auto manufacturers are talking about retooling their factory. I don't know that they're. I actually don't know the status on that. I haven't looked up the news, but I see they're getting a little bump. That may be in play. It's a tough trade though, so be careful, guys. There's a level right here. I can see the top of this candle, the low of this one around 605. That might come into play. What about Roku? It's one I know that our members have talked about and have liked to trade. Pre-market does not look great on Roku. And its movement yesterday, though, wasn't bad. There was some opportunity to have traded this. But I'm not seeing anything special going on with Roku today, nor does it have any news catalysts that I'm aware of. Last one, actually, that we didn't talk about that maybe I should put on the list here is Zoom. I actually used Zoom for the first time yesterday. I had a board meeting, which is always in person, except for yesterday when we did it online, and I'd never used Zoom. It actually worked pretty well. I was surprised. I've used a lot of teleconferencing services and never used Zoom. It's pretty seamless, fairly intuitive. And we had, 9 people, I think, on. And the video and voice was all pretty smooth. I was impressed, actually. However, Zoom is a stock.
Check out. It's Zoom is good. But after yesterday, I don't know how it'll trade. I'll keep an eye on it. You might check out Halliburton. I know it's something we don't usually trade, but it's actually got pretty nice pre-market action, heavy volume, It's up 16, 17%.
Let's take a peek here. It's HAL, Halliburton. Yeah, the pre-market's not bad. Is there any specific news on it, Norm, or is it just moving with the markets? Well, it's up 16% though.
Yeah, it's all these oil stocks. There's several of them. Schlumberger's on here, ExxonMobil, BP. So, but that actually looks like it's got pretty decent action. So,
Okay. Well, I see. I'm just setting some levels as we're talking here. I set one at 974 because there's a gap in here, so that's basically the bottom of the gap. I see this day closed at 815, and this day over here opened at 813. So I'm going to set a level at what is it? I've got it at 813 right now. So that's a good place to watch to see if that provides any resistance to the price. And just the last one in case I need it low is 1275. So we'll set a level here at 1275. Yeah, well, I'm not sure it's going to make my list, but yeah, it might be one that people watch. So as you can see, guys, we've got a bunch of stuff you could watch. For me, I'm probably going to keep an eye on MGM. I do like the way it's been moving. Ford. And then Boeing, out of interest, but it's a tough trade. I find I have to leave a really big spread. Well, both the spread is big, but also a big sort of range on it because it can jump by a couple of dollars before it gets moving in the direction you want. So you got to be careful on that. So those are three for sure, and then probably AMD. And then I'll use Delta Airlines as an airline, and I might just stick with CCL, Carnival Cruise Lines, but I'll take a look at RCL as well because they just have been moving so well the last few days. Thor in our room has been very happily trading the cruise lines, and they keep paying him money, so that's working out really well for him. All right, with that, I think I've done everything I wanted to do on the pre-market. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. For those on YouTube, if you wanted to join us again, as we mentioned, we're going to be starting, effective today, show into the close. It's going to be myself and Brian, which will be on. We'll take you through the closing bell, and we'll look at then at the close a couple of the stocks that have earnings right after the bell. I know on my list I've got a couple of things I'm going to be looking out for, including Micron, MU. Which is, I think, announcing pretty much right at the bell at 4 o'clock, so that could be interesting. And hopefully we'll see you there. Thanks, Norm, as always, for joining me. Thank you, everybody in the room. For those on YouTube, hopefully you'll join us in the room soon. Take care, everyone.
take care, guys. Trade safe.
Talk to you later.